First things first, I'm a Nephilim. Got a weapon, slay a demon, watch me drop 'em. And I'm always playing a wizard, I could freeze you now, or spam energy twister. How'd I get a full set like this? Drop a green and pick it up, now I got 6. Magic missile, fire, hydra, apocalypse, firebirds, but I still got Ogjaws on my wrist. Blizzard and disintegrate elite packs. Never stop, watch the wizard make a comeback. Kill the treasure goblin, where's the vault at? Gold is spilling, let me take that. I'm so hardcore. Playing Diablo, got 4-piece blackthorns. And Countess Julia's cameo. I'm so hardcore. It's time to start the show. Westmarch Workshop. Let's go. That's my best parody try there. That's what I get for doing it live. I screwed up a few words.
Oh man.
That was
amazing.
Oh, thanks. I had to sneak Ogchilds in there.
Yep. Ogchilds, making it happen. If anyone from Blizzard ever watches this, please, for the next expansion, you have to add in an Ogchilds set. It'll be the level 80 version instead of Oggild. It'll just be Ogchilds.
I'd be happy even if it's just a gray item. Just as long as it's in there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Just give it a flavor text.
No, that was great, man. Nice flow. Going it. I was doing the 8 mile.
And Steven, you have to follow this up next week with your intro. So
the bar is being
pressure's
set.
on.
And
then, of course, in 2 weeks, I'll just completely kill everything when it comes around to my side. So
it's okay. I practiced this like 15 million times before the show, and I still managed to mess up the timing on some of the lines. So it's just the nerves got to me. Couldn't handle the pressure.
It was good. It was good.
Thanks.
I'm wordless and breathless.
You took the intro to 11.
Cool. Well,
that went to 11.
Keep it up. I think I might write a full version of that and put it on YouTube for you guys.
I think that would do well. I really do.
All right. Well, I guess this was the week of hot fixes. We got hot fixes galore.
We got 1,000,001.
I know you guys didn't see it, but I named the show Spicy Hot Fixes.
I do see that.
Oh, okay.
That's a spicy hot to fix.
Yeah.
that was pretty bad. I'm sorry.
As long as none of our viewers are actually Italian, I think that'll pass.
Oh yeah. So where do we want to jump into these hot fixes here? Which one's your favorite hot fix?
Oh, I don't know. Should we do our week in gaming first?
Ooh.
We're changing it up every week now, and no one knows when we're gonna do what.
As exciting as the hot fixes are, yes, let's try and keep the format. Let's get the stuff that nobody cares about out of the way, and we get into there. So first things first. In addition to writing the song, what have you been doing this past week?
That's it. The whole week was just that 1 minute. No, I didn't play as much as I did week 1 in the seasons. I got up to 135 Paragon. I finally completed my Firebird set, as you might have heard in the song.
Yay.
And so now I can blow stuff up, and it burns to death after I leave. I've been looking up like Firebird builds to see what other people are using, and I mean, it depends a lot on what other legendaries you're using, but most people are just using like Blizzard, Hydra, Black Hole, set it and forget it type skills. And that seems the way to go. I've just been like throwing up Blizzard, and that kills most enemies on T3 on its own, and then I just move on through the Rift. And yeah, and then I'll use Disintegrate to kill the big guys, but that's just based on how my gear is right now. I'd rather be using Magic Missile, but had to give up the Mirror Ball because I got the Firebirds offhand. It took me forever to get 6-piece, and then I got 2 Firebirds offhands, like back to back. I was like, come on.
That's always the way it goes.
Yeah, I am familiar with this.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about it. Just been running a lot of rifts, spending all my shards on gloves to no avail. I've gotten, I think, 4 Mage Fists, 5 Veer's gloves, and even a Marauder's pair of gloves, and still no Firebird gloves.
Speaking of Marauder's gloves, this segued well.
Yeah.
I think I'm in a similar experience as you. I've been trying to get Tasker and Theo for myself, but I've dumped a couple thousand shards into it. I think I've gotten around like 7 or 8 pairs of Marauders gloves. It's like, thank you. All right, I have my 6-piece Marauders. I don't need any more. I'm good. Thanks. I will trade in my last 7 sets of Marauders gloves for 1 Tasker and Theo. But yeah, that's what I've been trying to do. Is just I've not gotten a ring, even though I got my full 6-piece Marauders within like 3 days. I've not gotten Tasker and Theo, and I've not gotten a Ring of Royal Grandeur. Though I haven't been playing that much since they hot fixed in the guaranteed drop chance for the legendaries on Torment 6 out of the bounties. Just once it gets into the work week, my playtime kind of drops significantly. And what I have been playing, Steven and I have been trying to do our last conquest, which has actually proven to be a lot more difficult than I expected.
Oh my god.
Which one's that?
Yeah. The Speed Racer, trying to beat the entire game in 1 hour. I think, what was it, yesterday we were on track, we were about to do it in like an hour and 6 minutes, but then I disconnected and just kind of, it is pointless now. We've already passed the hour and we're not going to be able to get the full timer for the run to see what we did. But yeah, it's insane.
That's crazy. Were you just trying to 2-man it? Or do you have 2 others?
So far, it's just been the 2 of us.
Well, there's your problem. 2 other people, maybe you'd get it.
Yeah, we need to do that. What are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm down.
All right.
I don't think I have any.
So there it is, tomorrow. Let's do it.
Got it. It's gonna happen.
We need to stream it.
Yeah, but then if we fail, it's so much more embarrassing.
But that is why you don't fail.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Yep.
I like that.
It's that easy. It's that simple.
Good strat.
There it is. Oh man, yeah. I guess that segues into what I have been up to for my week in gaming as well too. Since last week, during the last show, if you guys recall, people were talking about all the Rings of Royal Grandeur they were getting from the hotfix, and I was like dying to just like, all right, we're done with Westmarch Workshop. Let's go farm now. So I did. I think I stayed up till like 2 in the morning or 3 that night, and I farmed 1 up.
Wow.
And it turned out to be pretty good because obviously on the Crusader, cooldown reduction is pretty important, and I got cooldown and a socket. Or I got cooldown and something else, and I made it a socket. So I was pretty happy with that. For the most part, yeah, we knocked out, 2 or 3 more conquests. We got the T6 Soul of Evil, 9-ball and I, and then we also did the Getting to Greater Rift 30. Knocked that one out.
Nice.
Which was probably one of the most trying experiences that we've done so far.
That was intense, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, how many times did you proc awareness, you said?
It was 3 or 4 times I had awareness proc, and it was super scary because like the awareness would proc because like I'd be standing next to a wall, and then I would have 3 mortars hit me from an elite mob, and that would be enough to just give me in half a second. And so just I'm at full health, and then all of a sudden I'm at 50%. Awareness is procced. I'm like, just having to run away because that could what just killed me could easily just happen again. So it's having to drop the sentries on the edge of the screen and let Leviathan handle the rest of it.
Yeah, it was pretty terrifying. I think I procced Indestructible 2 or 3 times as well. It's like we were like just on the cusp of being ready for it, but I think we also got some bad RNG in terms of like some nasty packs with just tons of DPS affixes versus anything else.
We almost every pack was like a mortar waller, and it was in like either the crypt level or the plug tunnels level. So a lot of narrow, windy spaces with some really nasty ones.
Wow, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, but other than that, going well. Now just farming, pretty much trying to like speed farm T6. I can do regular rifts in about like 7 or 6 minutes if it's dense enough. So I've been trying to just get items. I need 1 more Unity, and then my set is pretty much good to go.
Oh yeah, I still haven't gotten my first one. That's a definite must. So we can finally stop playing with other people, right?
Yeah, I'm so tired of 9-ball. That's really why I want it.
Exactly. The truth comes out. But little does Steven know, I actually already have my 2 Unities, so I'm leaving him in the dust.
Oh,
so that's what you've been doing when you've been playing Destiny.
Oh yeah, Destiny came out yesterday. Now 9-ball has a battle here he has to confront.
Yeah, now there's competition. As like Destiny came out and has got all these huge reviews and everyone's playing it and it's just blowing up Twitch and all those other types of stuff. And then I get home and it's like, okay, let's play Diablo because it's like we need to get this last conquest done. And I'm not going to rest until it's done.
Nice.
Must.
Well, maybe that can bring us to Leviathan's question of what's your favorite hotfix. We got a lot of them. I'll go first if you guys want to try to decide because I know we're throwing this out.
I think we all probably decide on the same one, so go ahead and take it.
Oh, really? I don't. I think I picked a different one.
Okay.
I know what mine is.
I'm taking this one just because this is the one that aggravates me the most. Keystone of Trials are no longer going to have beams on them. So this one hasn't gone through yet, but soon enough, I'm not going to get trolled anymore by the Keystone of Trials dropping into the Rift, thinking I got a legendary.
That is a good one, actually. And it drops first, too, so you're like, oh, yes, legendary. You, like, see the star on the map.
Yeah.
I have 40 Keystone of Trials in my inventory right now.
So many.
Yeah. I guess I'm still just so indecisive about which gems I should upgrade that I've been holding on to them.
That makes sense. And honestly, I feel like, just to get into a little bit of strats, I feel like it's probably worth it to wait and do them just because right now, since it's still so early in the season, the most important thing really is just farming up the gear that you'll need.
Yeah, especially I think when you're getting like your set pieces, you have a lot more control over that if you're using blood shards and you get blood shards faster just doing the regular rifts.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I have been doing the greater rifts, I'll just go up to like rift 20 or so and then stop. And I have like 8 rank 20 gems right now. Just saving.
Yeah. Steven actually had a really good strategy that we've been doing for the past couple of weeks with that one, and the target was level 24. Is because if you Steven, you're the one that found this, so please, by all means.
Okay, yeah. So what we basically determined was that in order to get a gem ranked up the most efficiently, it made sense to always be 12 greater rift levels ahead of the gem. So if it's a rank 3 gem, you get up to greater rift 15, and then all of the upgrades, all 3 of them are guaranteed to be 100%. Because it's gonna, if you're 10 above the level, it's 100. So by the time you get up to rank 5 on that gem, that last upgrade will still be 100%. Whereas if you started, at greater rift 13, then the next one would be 90 and then 80%. But what I found was that for getting it to 25, just to unlock that secondary, it would be insane to go up to, greater rift 37 this early in the season because there are barely many people geared for that solo anyways. And, even in groups, it's tough.
In hardcore.
Also in hardcore, definitely. So the best strat that I found was going up to greater rift level 24 because when the gem is at the same level as the greater rift, there's a 60% chance and you get 3 shots at it. So it's probably, likely by the time that you hit all 3, one of them will get you to your 25.
Nice. Yeah, good call. Pro tip. Right there.
Pro tip.
Yep, and it's a nice and easy target because with the Realm of Trials, if you get to wave 29, you can just port out and you start at level 20, rift 24.
Every time.
Yep. So it's something that you can just target farm and get right there. You can skip a whole bunch of levels, not have to clear much, and then what is it? Because from there, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. From there, that 60% chance of upgrading the gym, you actually have those 7 levels. So in order to get a better chance than that, for one upgrade, you'd have to get all the way up to level 30, or Rift 30, in order to have, a better chance of doing it. So it's just a nice, good spot to get to try and get it up effectively, quickly, and, with relatively less risk.
Yeah, 24 is the magic number.
Mm-hmm.
There it is.
So what were your favorite hot fixes?
Nimble, you can go next.
Oh, okay. Yeah. For one of mine, actually, is I really enjoyed the hotfix that came into yesterday, or I guess it was applied to the EU realm yesterday and is coming to our realm now is that the drop rate for the all of the organs of evil, or the evil organs, whatever the things that are called, hellfire organs, they all have they've been bumped up to 100% at Torment 6. We still have as yet to get the clarification on if the other Torment difficulties have had their drop rates increased. Does it scale from 25% to 100 or 50% to 100? Not exactly sure, but now you can.
Oh yeah, I was just reading the blue post. It says they have been increased on Torment 1 and above.
Oh, okay, so they have been increased, but to not specifically how much.
Yeah, it just says to a maximum of 100% on T6.
Yeah. And so, for that, now you can you can quickly farm up your Hellfire Amulets and Hellfire Rings. That was one of the things that people didn't really want to go through and do, is because for some classes, the Hellfire Amulet's okay. It's not that great. It might not be super impressive, especially compared to how much time you have to put into it in order to farm it, because you only have a 50% chance to get the keys on Torment 6, and then a 50% chance of getting the items from the bosses on Torment 6. It creates a whole lot of farming, and then you could get the amulet without the skill that you want but good stats, or the one with the skill that you want and crap stats. So now it's a little bit easier for the time investment.
Nice.
It's hilarious because we actually have a clanmate who actually writes for the site too. It's Hot Streak. He writes for the Diablo Bliss Pro site. He spent I think it was Sunday, farming the keys and then the materials, and it was hilarious watching like the stream of expletives every time he went into one of the fights and didn't get it, and then had to go back and farm all 4 keys again. I was like, I messaged him today. I was like, "Hey man, you like that hot fix?"
I bet. Yeah, it's hardly worth it. I mean, hopefully this hot fix will make it worth it. But even when you do get the Hellfire Amulet, there's a good chance it's going to roll pretty horribly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're definitely going to have to make more than one for sure, which is already a huge time investment.
Yeah.
RNG on RNG, but it's good that we can control it a little bit now.
Mm-hmm. And that one is, the keys themselves they did not get buffed. It was only the organs, but you can mitigate that by just farming in a group. Because, if it drops for one person, it drops for everybody. Even though it doesn't increase the drop chance, it makes it so that way, as soon as you complete one set, you actually have 4 sets. And so you can, go through and do a bunch of bosses. If you farm up a full, set, 3 sets of 3, then you'll be able to go through and do all the bosses a ton,
Yeah. At the very least, use your machines with friends, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Sharing is caring.
Mm-hmm. So, Leviathan, what was your favorite hotfix?
My favorite hotfix was applied on Friday before this past weekend, and it was the moratorium gem being fixed so that now it doesn't just instantly kill you when you use it. Because I've been at that one before 2.1 came out. Because like I'd mentioned in previous shows, I hadn't done much testing with the legendary gems, but that one was just one I had my eye on because it seemed so good for hardcore, especially where life per second is a pretty strong fix that you're going to want, if not on gear, then definitely focused in your Paragon, etc. And the moratorium just works so well with that. Actually, someone in chat was talking about Rogar's huge stone, which is the one that increases your life per second based on a number that rolls on the item. I forget what the range is, maybe 70 to 100% of your life that's missing. So obviously that can be huge, and with the moratorium at work, that's going to stagger the damage, and then if you're just out healing it per second, then you essentially would just never see your health move, which is amazing. But people were getting basically killed, and then the moratorium was still ticking the damage. They would activate their second chance at life passive, or shadow set bonus, and still die. So it was a scary time for hardcore players, and I'm really, because I don't think a lot of people knew that it was a bug too, as much as we were trying to spread the info. So I'm just glad it got the hot fix as quickly as it did.
We even knew someone that died to it because they didn't know. That was kind of like the first thing that was like, oh shit, that's a thing.
Yeah, it was pretty scary, and it's too bad. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people sending in support tickets trying to get their hardcore characters back, to no avail, of course.
Nope.
Yeah, it's the danger of playing on hardcore, I guess.
Comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll bring up another. This one hasn't been hotfixed yet, and I'm not going to give the details of this because it is an exploit, and Blizzard prefers us not to, share how to do exploits. But you guys have probably heard there's a way to level really quickly. We were just talking about it before the show. And just so you know, Blizzard's aware of it. They haven't said for sure yet if the people who have done it are going to get their characters rolled back. But it would not be out of character for Blizzard to roll back characters or even suspend accounts. So I think we could all agree when it comes to exploits, especially big ones like this, safest thing is just to not use them.
I do want to say too that it did get hotfixed actually.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I think it was applied either this morning or last night. So it's shut off, which is good.
Okay, then you can't do it, even if you wanted to. There you go.
There you go.
But then I guess we could talk about the details. Sorry, I'm getting everything. People were basically... Well, actually, Leviathan understands it better than I do, I think. Maybe he should take it.
I can jump in on it. So basically what was occurring was a popular streamer, and I'm not his hugest fan, so I don't want to say his name to give him more credit, but was on Twitch yesterday morning and was showing off this exploit to people who started to catch on to it, and some people were outraged, some people were like, I'm logging onto Diablo and doing this right now, etc. But basically what they were doing was assembling a party of 4 people, creating a game in Torment 6, but then going into greater rifts, and apparently the best way to kind of min-max it efficiently was to have your game be in about the high teens to mid-20s of greater rift. And what would happen was there would be one character who would go in, or all 4 would go in, sorry. One character would kind of tag a few monsters to let the game know they were there and port back to town. And at that point, you're still getting experience because you're in town and you're in the party. The game recognizes you're in the party. But everyone else would stay in the greater rift and kill mobs, and you would get the bonus of the multiplicative experience from being in a Torment 6 game, when normally that wouldn't apply when you're in the greater rift, because the greater rift difficulty is independent of whatever difficulty you created your game on. So I have no idea how someone figured this out. Maybe it was probably figured out by mistake originally, but it proved to be very powerful because people were getting, I think I saw the biggest reports of like 300 to 400 Paragon levels in about 3 to 4 hours. So it was just completely outscaling anything someone could do from the beginning of the season until now.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Indeed. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to do a quick sum up, but some people have been saying that this kind of mars Season 1 in a way, because now these people have these extra Paragon points, and, while they may seem insignificant, it just gives them that much more of a leg up on, someone else who, is putting in their hours, and, maybe they can't farm all the time or tons and tons of hours put into the game. But now their shot at, climbing the leaderboard ahead of those person is just absolutely shredded. And then the people who were competitively, hardcore going into it, even some of them got outstripped by this exploit. So it's just like, oh man, does this completely invalidate anyone's efforts? Because there's, these question marks over whose Paragon points are legit, whose aren't. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
No, yeah, I definitely hope they roll back the characters. It doesn't seem like it'd be too hard to identify who's using the exploit.
Yeah, and this is of course on the heels of the first to level 70 for normal mode. All that conquest is pretty much it can just be disregarded because everyone used an exploit in order to go through and get that. No one actually did it, legitimately. They just corpse ran over to a quest that didn't require them to do anything.
Yeah. Damn softcore noobs.
Maybe this is instead of Season 1. In some cases, this is kind of Season 0. It's definitely a test, and they've already kind of acknowledged that this is kind of a test run for seasons themselves, just because they don't even know how long it's going to last. So they're still gauging that with what feels good. It's going to be a couple months, but we don't know. It could last until November, it could be December or January before they end the first season.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird position to be in. And I mean, I don't know. I was looking around at the hardcore leaderboards just to see if anyone's suddenly took a big spike in power level or anything like that. And doesn't seem like it. And I guess the way people are talking about it too is that it wasn't super widespread. Like by the time people were catching on to it, they were starting. Blizzard was already like in the works of shutting it down, and then had shut it down. So I know it's tough to say the spread because obviously since it was being streamed, that's thousands of people, and then they tell thousands of people. So
yeah, I always want to know who's the person that like finds out this stuff.
some dude who had to go AFK to like pee or something is like, why do I have 50 Paragon levels now?
True. There's always some sort of like bug and stuff, like especially back during like the auction house days where people learned how to dupe items by going and like doing this trick and like flipping out these items like a certain number of time and then putting it back in and like logging out, and then all of a sudden the item is like triplicated or whatever inside their stash, and it's just like how many iterations and tests do you go through to try and find this? Damn.
Yeah.
It's from that. Sorry, go ahead, Argon.
No, I was just gonna say it's a good point. Like, are these people who just really understand the coding of video games and are taking a good guess, or just people that have so much time and there's so many people doing it that they just got lucky once?
I feel like it's from that same class of people that like do speedruns, like their life is glitches. They live to find like that little thing in the game that's going to give them an advantage, something that, well, the developers left it in there, and so I'm going to take advantage of it till they take it out.
Yeah. Well, right after our show last week, we kind of talked about it already, but they did get rid of the 4 bounties people were using to do that exploit, I guess you could call it, to get experience really quickly. The Matriarch's Bones, Jar of Souls, the Miser's Will, and Miner's Gold. So now they just, I'm not sure, you guys might know better than me, do they just not appear on the minimap at all anymore, or they just don't give rewards?
Oh, the bounty itself is now just they no longer spawn as bounties, so you don't know if that event exists without going through and checking it, which was part of the reason why it was so lucrative, is because you just spawn in, you check the bounties and see if it had spawned or not.
So yeah, it's still a quest that you can do, but you don't. Yeah, it doesn't spawn as a bounty, so you can't check it as quickly, and it doesn't give you the bonus experience.
Yeah, because the bounty turn-in was the majority of the experience. You still could get experience from it. It's not as much as doing it with the bounty, and you'll have to spend all the time of running out and checking each one individually to see if it's spawned.
Yeah, that's good. And then you're not gonna get the bounty experience on top of that as well, right? Were there other hotfixes you guys wanted to bring up?
Just let's see, what was...
I think we had talked about most of them last show, and then we just got all the new ones. It turns out that all of our favorites are actually different ones of the new ones, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I guess there was a small bug with Greed where he would block the chest so you couldn't get looted, and that's been fixed.
Oh, did that go through already?
I think so. Let me double check on that. It's an old blue post, so I assumed it went through with the other hotfixes, but actually, should probably get a confirmation first.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I don't see it on any of the live posts, so maybe they're still working on it. But yeah, it seemed like a smaller bug. I hadn't heard about it until I saw the blue post.
Yeah, I didn't run into it, but I guess it's from people who were killing Greed close to the edge of the circle that you fight her in. If it was too close to the edge, then the chest could spawn some of the items right on top of the chest, if you will, so you couldn't interact with it, which is interesting. I mean, they had that problem originally in vanilla Diablo 3 too, where some of the regular chests would spawn items that would like sit like right between an invalid zone that you couldn't click on.
Yeah. Yeah, there was. I thought there was an interesting post. Someone asked if the Unity trick, I guess you could call it, where you put one Unity on your follower with the invincible token, so you take half damage, was intended or not. And Blizzard said yes, it's intended to work like that.
Yeah. No, that one's kind of old because they've responded to that a while ago, saying that it's not an exploit.
Yeah, I still doubt that they had that intention when they put the Unity in the game, because it just seems so contrary to their philosophy on things. But it really supports single player playstyle, and it's it's so powerful that you really don't have a choice if you're playing single and you have the two unities. But I guess they decided it wasn't worth taking out.
See,
Yeah.
I don't know if I feel that way because
Yeah.
Travis actually talked about it when I did my Theorycraft Thursday, which is what it was called back then. And I think it was Nolan that asked him about the Unity thing, or maybe it was a question in chat or something. And his explanation was that because they were making so many boosts to playing in a party and having that be like the richest and most efficient and great way to play the game, they wanted to have something special for single player too, so people could if they didn't have a bunch of friends or clan mates or whatever at a certain time, they could still get a cool benefit of playing by themselves. And I wonder if that's just if that was intentional, right, or if they co-opted that ideology after people figured this out, that oh crap, you can really like subvert a ton of damage by two unities and a follower can't die relic or whatever.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of my thoughts without even knowing that he went through and said that. But it's just because, yeah, it's like playing solo has so many disadvantages to playing in a party that you kind of need that to even keep up, because you have 30% less experience that you're gaining, and even the magic and the gold fine, or the magic doesn't really matter. And when you're first starting off, like in the season or whatever, the 30% extra gold fine on top of the difficulty, increases a lot more than what you would get by just having the reduced damage. Not to mention the increased killing speed by playing in a group as opposed to playing solo.
Yeah, I suppose until we see solo players out greater rifting groups, then it's still probably an advantage to play in groups.
Mm-hmm.
And Leviathan's cracking up at something he read in chat.
Because Dr. Checkmate says some yuts today asked if they could make pets able to wear Unity rings, and then Harn Wadzer goes, "Yeah, I want all my fetishes to wear Unities." I'm just imagining like 30 fetishes with Unities, and it's just you take like 1% of damage.
Yeah, sorry guys, pets don't wear gear. Pretty nudes out there.
And then a blast of AoE goes out and kills all the pets, and you get one-shotted.
Yeah, right.
Because you took all the defense off of gear.
Exactly.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Or you took half the damage of what all of your pets did.
That's pretty funny.
Oh man, love it.
I don't know if there's a best time for this, but I did want to rant a little bit. I had a rant saved up this week.
Okay.
Ooh, I like rants.
I gotta let it out.
Hold on. Let me get comfy.
Okay, it's coming.
All right. Okay, go.
Here it comes. Okay, so I have a lot of friends who have casually played Diablo until 2.1 came out. They're getting into it like hardcore for the first time. I bet a lot of you guys can relate. Or maybe you yourself are getting into it hardcore for the first time. And I think there's a fatal mistake with Diablo that can be easy to make of just playing too much. And I say that with Diablo specifically because Diablo is very addicting, but it also by nature is quite repetitive. And so I have some friends now that play like non-stop for a week and a half, and then they get disappointed because they're already bored. And I think this is an avoidable problem. I think if you merely stop playing before you get to the point of no return, you can play Diablo for a very long time without getting burnt out. And it's especially a problem now that seasons are here and people feel rushed to play. But it goes into this idea I have, at least, of games being fun and games being addicting, not necessarily being the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The games we play for hours on end, we usually play them because they're addicting. Now, a lot of the times you're also having fun while you're doing it, but it's easy to lose sight of whether or not you're actually enjoying the gameplay, or whether you're just so determined to get that piece that you'll play as long as you have to get it. And so I think the important takeaway I put out there is pay attention when you're playing the game and saying, if I knew I wasn't going to get any gear, would I still be enjoying killing these demons? Is the gameplay itself actually fun, or did I just set a goal that I'm so determined to get that I'll put myself through hell just to get it quicker? And if you play before you get to that point where it's not, if you stop before you get to that point where it's not fun anymore, and you take just a day off and you come back, almost every time, I think it's a lot more fun. But if you play through that until you just hate the game, when you finally realize you don't like it anymore, then it might be a while before you can really enjoy it again.
That's a well said rant, I think. I think there are a lot of salient points there that people should observe. And at first I was like, am I being targeted here? Like, I play a lot.
You have a problem. This is a Westmarch Workshop intervention.
Steven, we need to take away your keyboard. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, so, I mean, there's definitely some people who can play all day, every day, and still have fun with it. And I've been one of those people for a while. Everyone has a different breaking point, but it's really easy to lose sight of whether or not you're actually enjoying the gameplay or just addicted.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, because if you're enjoying, like, let's say, like, you enjoy some part of it that's not just the gear chase, right? Like, you really enjoy your build, which is one of the things that I feel like I can use to justify my playtime, because I really love this new Condemn build that has been enabled because of the seasonal Crusader shield. So I just get excited to go in and figure out like better ways to min-max how that build works. And also I happen to get loot along the way too. But if at any point, I kind of feel like I figure it out, or if I get to the top of the leaderboard or something, that is when I get to that point that you're talking about, Archon, where I'm like, all right, I need to now evaluate, like, if I keep pressing on, am I doing it just because I feel like I got to this point and I need to keep doing it, or am I still having fun doing it? And that's really important, because it's just like you said, you don't want to ruin the experience for yourself by like mindlessly grinding without, I guess, a positive like the feedback to your like mental state, if you will.
Yeah, I got this last weekend. I played all day Saturday, and I noticed by the end of Saturday I was just in a bad mood because I played past that breaking point. I was just like, I've been playing video games all day. I don't have a reason to be in a bad mood right now. But it was just because all I had was frustration, because after 10 hours or so, the fun was gone for me, and I just was so mad I hadn't gotten my Firebird gloves yet. But after taking a break for a day, I was happy to get back in there.
Yeah, I guess for me, I've got a lot of different things going on. That kind of like vie for my attention outside of Diablo. So even though when I'm playing, I'm going through and having a blast, and I'll go through and do a little bit of research here and there. But a lot of the times when I'm not playing Diablo, I'm actually doing other things, whether it be like watching some of the StarCraft tournaments that have been going on for the last couple weekends, or doing my Warhammer thing, doing either researching army lists or doing some painting and such. That helps to take my mind and compartmentalize like my experiences, so I don't get as much burnt out, because it's not like 100% Diablo 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And it's like when I sit down and play Diablo, it's because I want to play.
Right. I think that diversity of activities is actually something important to talk about too, because not only does that exist in like real life, like sometimes you have to like go make dinner, or you have to take care of your chores, and that takes you away from the game. But also even within Diablo too, like now that they've added all these different systems, if you're having a bad spout of luck and you can't find the items you want and you're rift farming endlessly, then go work on leveling up your gems in greater rifts. It's like easier content because you're working on some of the lower level rifts to maximize your time spent getting your lower level gems up. And maybe by the time you're done with that, you might want to call it a day on Diablo, or you might feel a little more renewed to then resume the farming thing, and it's not like tilting you to the point where you're like, I hate everything, I want to get my one unity or whatever you're looking for.
Yeah.
Just the fact that there are other things to do that help to vary up what you do within the game, I think is important to note.
And to just address that, because it's something that we've talked about on a lot of prior episodes of the workshop, is going and talking about, we'd always make jokes about, I hope you like rifts because it's all that you're going to be doing, but actually going and playing it, hardcore for the past 2 weeks in the seasons, it really has been that even though I'm running regular rifts, it's like, well, I'm running regular rifts because I ran out of keystones. I want to try and get some gear. But then now let's shift gears and run greater rifts because, I need to level up my legendary gems. And it actually has a different mentality behind it when I'm going through and playing that. Is because, like, one is because I have a set goal. I need to get to Rift 24 and then upgrade the gym and then stop, reset, go back in, get to 24 until I get my until I get like this next gym up to 25. And so I have an actual set goal of going through and doing this. And then when I hop back into regular rifts, or maybe we'll decide, well, let's farm for Ring of Royal Grandeur again, and we go and start doing bounties. That little tiny shift in what you're trying to achieve, that even though you're technically doing the same thing, makes it seem completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I could just give my 2 cents on that, I hope moving forward that that's a big focus of Blizzard's, of giving us different activities to do. While I agree it does feel different to do greater rifts from regular rifts, I would love it if we had another activity that was more different. And I know a lot of players would love some form of competitive gameplay, whether it be PvP or not. But yeah, I think if we had enough different activities, you really could. Diablo would have a lot more longevity than it has now, to say the least.
Yeah,
That's true.
and speaking of competitive activities, though, I do wonder what the reactions are for the leaderboard, because I know, Steven, for you, you're highly motivated for that. I'm motivated for trying to get my name on the conquest, maybe not so much for trying to go through and be like top of the leaderboard itself. It's nice being on it, but it's kind of just like a side perk of going through and trying to knock out the conquests. But this is something that obviously I'll give you a chance to answer here, Stephen, but also for our listeners and people in the chat here tonight, are you motivated in any way by the leaderboards themselves? Do you care? Do you look at it? Do you want to see your name higher up there? Are you trying to go for number 1, top 100? Is it something that is motivating you to go through and play further now that you actually do have some form of competition within the game itself?
Yeah, and that's so it's difficult to talk about, right? Because on the one hand, like I just enjoy playing the game. Like I love PvE elements. That's always been kind of my favorite thing. Like I come from a background of RPGs, Final Fantasy, and things like that, where there's not a lot of multiplayer interaction, like real life other people playing with you. So it's cool when those sorts of systems and games start to get elements where other people matter, but not necessarily like you interacting with them directly. Because I don't have to get into a game with you, Nineball, and then try and beat you on the leaderboard. If we do that, it's actually more cooperative. But if I'm looking, and you're playing a DH, so your progress on the leaderboard is, a little different from mine as a Crusader. I can still kind of say like, oh, I saw last night you must have stayed up late. You got up to Rift 31, huh? And I'm at like 20, I'm at 29 or something. That might motivate me to then, take a little all-nighter or something and try and catch up. And I think that is just a good thing to motivate, honestly. Like it makes you want to play the game in a different way. Obviously you're still grinding for gear and you want good gear, like perfect stats, whatever, but it also gives you something to do with that gear at that point, because now it's like, all right, I've assembled what I think is one of my best sets. Now what can I do with it? Oh, I'm going to go and try and beat all my friends. I think that's an important aspect to have within the game.
Mm-hmm. Then, of course, just going from there and going back to like Archon's original point of having more varied gameplay, I still think that there's a lot more that they can do with like the Uber bosses. The increase on the drop chance for the organs is definitely huge, because it makes it a little bit more worthwhile to spending the time to go and do them. But I think that they could probably make it even more rewarding from there, just by they already said that they're okay with trying to make the Hellfire amulets like best in slot. They could push that a little bit further and make them even more powerful, like guaranteeing your main stat and like crit chance, so that way you have less variety in going through and having to re-roll them, because it's like it's a double-edged sword. If you make the item too good, then you only have to farm a couple of them and you never revisit that content. Yeah, but if you make the chance of getting a good one too low, then it's not worth the time that you're investing trying to get it, when you could just I could get a comparable amulet just by running a ton of rifts and gambling all of my blood shards with Kadala.
Yeah.
So, but I think there's other things that they might be able to do with the Uber style bosses and like the old Pandemonium event, to make it a different type of gameplay that you can do.
Yeah, I think maybe just adding like a large amount of blood shards dropping from Uber bosses would be another thing to actually make it a legit end game play method. playstyle.
Yeah.
I actually like that idea. Just more reasons to motivate you to do the other things too, because once you do have that GG Hellfire amulet, you may never touch the Ubers again, like that season or going forward. But yeah, if they do have another reward besides that, and actually I feel like that would take some of the sting out of those bad organs, and you get a crappy roll on your amulet. At least you got blood shards out of it, right? One thing that we were actually talking about this morning, Monstrous, who some of you guys might be familiar with, very active in the community, creates these amazing mock-ups of ideas that he gets. We're talking about reworking the trials just because they feel kind of like clunky in terms of how you can game them to get, like we were just stating earlier in the show, how you can game them to get exactly the Rift Stone that you want. Like, why not just have the trials exist and then you pick from a drop-down menu like your highest rift that you've been to, or any of the lower ones, instead of having to game this like, let's stop at wave 30 because we want to get a rank 25 greater rift keystone. But what Nolan was saying, Monstrous, was saying that they should just keep that mechanic in the game, the actual trials, and just make it another system that we go through, and there's a different reward there instead of the keystones.
Yeah, that was actually a big idea, and you might remember this from some of the early podcasts over on Ink Gamers that a lot of people threw out before the game even went into beta, was seeing some form of horde mode, because that had come in and become really popular in a whole bunch of different games, just having the onslaught of endless enemies going through and coming at you, and it's like, how far can you get before you die? That type of thing. It would have to be reworked slightly for hardcore if that is the point. It's like you go till you die type thing. But I was able to survive up until wave 256. In the realm of trials. Something along those lines. Yeah, it would kind of be the opposite of a greater rift where you have to try and speed through it, whereas this one you just have to try and survive.
Yeah, it seems like one of the big problems with the Realm of Trials is it's a completely different strategy than the Greater Rifts. Like, just like your build might be really good for the Realm of Trials, and I know people who have done the Realm of Trials and get a Rift Keystone for a higher Rift than they've ever been able to do, because they just had a really good build for the Realm of Trials.
So true.
So yeah, I like the idea of making it a new playstyle, but it does seem like it would come with a lot of complications, especially for hardcore players.
Well, if you guys ever played Final Fantasy VII, they had the mode, I forget what it's called, but it was in the Gold Saucer, and what you would do is you would go in and you would battle like a random set of enemies, and there were different levels to it. And the idea was that you would fight the first fight, and if you felt that you did well enough, you could then say, all right, I want to do the next one. And it was always a double or nothing, so you would get a certain amount of battle points from the fight. And then if you wanted to keep going, then the battle point reward would increase. But you always had the option to stop after the fight was done. So like, let's say the last fight was kind of hairy, then you'd be like, all right, I'm going to call it here. I'll walk away with my 6,400 battle points or whatever and go on my way, versus trying to double that up to 12,800. Could be one way to work it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All of my time in the Gold Saucer was spent in the submarine simulator.
All right, I can't tell if you're like trolling or not.
No, that was like the greatest thing ever. I probably spent almost as many hours playing the submarine game as I did, actually Final Fantasy VII. That was amazing. Well, that and Chocobo racing.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
No, Chocobo racing was fun, but that submarine, that thing was amazing. I love that.
Yeah, the mini games in Final Fantasy were always almost on par with the game itself.
Amen.
Got off on a little Final Fantasy tangent there, but yeah, we sorry to jolt the conversation ahead, but we still have a few things we want to touch on. I believe BlizzCon virtual tickets just went on sale.
Yeah. That they did.
And, watch all the goodies from your home with no pants on.
Yeah, Team No Pants.
Pants are the worst part about BlizzCon. That's
yeah.
But yeah, I think we're all going to be at BlizzCon. Hooray!
I believe so. Yeah, we are all going to be there. Is anyone in chat is plan on going to BlizzCon?
Yeah, well, we let them catch up. I actually heard, unfortunately, that they're getting rid of the meeting stone. I've never been to BlizzCon, but I know that was a thing where like people would plan like, oh, we have our podcast group. We're going to show up and you can do a meet and greet with us at the meeting stone at a certain time or whatever. I guess that's gone?
Yeah, it's one thing that they have tried. It's like, Blizzard stopped trying to make meeting zones happen. It's never going to happen. They've had last year they went through and they kind of redesigned it, and they put it in the middle of the convention center, and they put it right next to the blue booth, so that way it actually everyone would know where it was, and it also would be like kind of a high traffic area where because a lot of people would be going there to talk with the developers. In previous years, it had been off in one far corner of the convention, or it was even on the second floor in some room, and that if you weren't paying attention to the map, you wouldn't even know that it was there or even existed. And it was more just kind of like a realm meetup, so if you were from this realm in World of Warcraft, you could go here at this time, to try and meet other people, from your realm. And I would go through every once in a while just to go and see if there's anyone here from my realm that I might know, but I played Horde, and everyone there was Alliance because we're like 10% Horde population on Gilneas. But it was one of those things. It was always just like very sparsely populated, except for like some of the big servers like Illidan, and then it's just because it's like one of the huge guilds was having a meetup like specifically there. It wasn't because people were there because of the realm meetup. It's because this one guild was having a meetup, and that's why that that area suddenly became packed. And last year they tried to put a lot more emphasis on it, and they had a forum, and you could go and post and reserve times. So they got a whole bunch of podcasts, even BlizzPro. We set up a meeting session for fans of the website to come there, meet and talk and such. And it unfortunately just didn't really work out. It was always, you would walk by, and it was always sparsely populated. Maybe 10 people were just going through and hanging around. There's so much going on at the convention that you can go and talk and hang out for like an hour, but you're missing something. That's always what it came down to. It's like I can either go and listen to a developer live stream, or I could go to the meetup of this one podcast, or I can go through and watch Samwise at the Artist Alley, or I can go through and meet up with my WoW realm. It was always kind of like one of those things. It's like there's this really awesome thing to do, and then there's the meetup. Even though the meetup might itself be cool and you want to interact, it's you can't really compare to actually going and listening to like Chris Metzen talk or meeting your favorite voice actor or something along those lines.
Yeah, it seems to make more sense to just do meetups like after the day of BlizzCon at a bar or something nearby.
Yeah. Which is something that they do for like if you're really into podcasts and such. There's like the World of Podcasts on the Thursday night prior, that you can go there and like they have a meet and greet in the little bar and stuff like that. There's a bunch of other avenues that you can do, and obviously there's always the lobby of the Hilton immediately following BlizzCon, which is packed with almost the entire convention. If you might not be able to hear anybody else because of how loud it gets, but yeah. There's always other ways that you could go through and do it.
Indeed.
So it sounds like Nineball has never been to a BlizzCon before. So Archon, Archon, have you ever been?
Because Nineball's never not been to a BlizzCon, I think. But
I missed the first one, and that was partially.
You call yourself a Blizzard fan.
I know. It's like at the time, it was like I was poor. I had a part-time job, just moved out, living on my own, that type of thing, and so I couldn't make it. But I guess the saving grace is that even if I could have afforded it, I wouldn't have been able to have gone, because that is when South Florida got hit by a hurricane. It wasn't. I don't believe it was Wilma. But it basically, Fort Lauderdale International had been shut down. I wouldn't have been able to have gotten on a plane to actually go out to California because of the storm. I still remember watching BlizzCon at this one place that was closed but had gotten power, and they had free Wi-Fi. So they somehow still managed to have an internet connection, and so I was pulling it up on my laptop, watching like some of the clips from BlizzCon, like the day of.
Nice. Yeah, last year was my first year. I've tried to go many times before that, and tried to buy tickets this year. I've never successfully bought tickets. I got lucky enough to get invited last year, and then I guess I don't want to say for sure because it looks like just got invited this year. Things can fall through and whatnot, but it looks like I'm going this year, and I'm very grateful to Blizzard for allowing me again. Yeah, I'm super excited. I think my favorite part's just being around a bunch of like-minded people. Even
Hmm.
if you're at Denny's, the conversation next to you is probably
Oh,
about something that you're really into.
oh, it is. It is beautiful. It is, nerd mecca. If you've never been to like a big geek convention, it is amazing.
Yeah, like almost any given person in the convention or even on the street, you could just stop them and you could have a conversation that you're both into. Like,
Hmm.
especially for us that play pretty much all the Blizzard games.
Oh, it's so exciting. That's really cool because I got a taste of that. But the first thing I ever did that was like video game centric, with a lot of other people around, was PAX East earlier this year, and that was
Hmm.
really cool because we hung out at the Blizzard booth a lot. So obviously a lot of the chatter around there was Blizzard related, but it wasn't like everywhere you went that was the case. So it's going to be really exciting to just be in one central spot where everyone's like talking Warcraft, Starcraft, here, and there's so many games now too, right? So it's like
Yeah.
Heroes, Hearthstone, Diablo. I'm like, where do I go? What do I do first?
It
I'm so
it
excited.
it, it really is, because you'll
Yeah.
just be going and just walking through the convention. You'll have like some sort of big WoW panel on one stage, and then you'll see like a Diablo panel on another, and then all the while up in the center you have the esports stage, and they've got the StarCraft 2, the 2000 this year of course will be the 2014 finals with what is it, the top 8 or the top 16 best players in the world, duking it out for prize money. And so it's awesome. It's amazing experience. There's energy and excitement, and then even after the convention doors close, you hop on over to the Hilton, and there's like every single person from Blizzard hanging out in the lobby, just chatting with fans, having drinks. It's awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait.
110% pure awesome.
Yeah, I wish everyone could go, but I do love the fact that the virtual ticket is available. I used that last year. This I should say this is the first time I'll be able to go, so I'm really excited. But yeah, just even watching the stuff on the virtual ticket and actually watching Nineball go up and ask questions, I'm like, I know him. I know that guy. So cool.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. Last year I went. We watched mostly the WCS because the friends I went with are really into StarCraft, and it was awesome being like right up in the front. And we just everything we missed, we just go back to the hotel room and watch it on the virtual ticket.
Yeah, that
Beautiful.
actually made me sad because I was up there sitting and watching. And I was going to miss the Blizz Pro meetup at the Meeting Stone, like I was just talking about, because it was the finals, and it was what was it? It was Jadong versus,
Oh
ah, dang
man.
it. I can't remember who it was, but I was just going through and watching. And Jadong, I'm a Zerg player. I love Team EG, so seeing a legend like Jadong play for them, it's like he's my hero. That's what I fanboy.
Was it
Uh,
Bomber? I wanted to say Bomber, but I can't remember for sure.
yeah, but just going through and watching, and then just watching him get destroyed, in the first couple matches, just like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm over. I'm going to the meetup now because I don't want to watch the rest of this. It was sad. It
Yeah.
was sad.
We'll have to make sure not to miss the meetup this year because I totally missed the meetup last year. I was in line to play Heroes of the Storm and then realized, oh, the meetup was 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
Well, if we wanted to talk about something else, I did want to go into a quick section on Ramaladni's gift.
let's do it.
Let's go
All
for
right.
it.
So earlier this week, I hopped on the Twitter and kind of aired some grievances about the fact that I could not find this tiny little box of awesomeness that helps you put a socket on any item, or sorry, any weapon that you have that does not have a socket. And I was mostly upset about this because I had a really cool Blade of Prophecy that had the potential to be just absolutely amazing if I could roll the socket that I rolled onto it off for 10% damage on the weapon, and then put Ramalani's gift into it to get the socket back. And so I went on Twitter and I said, hey, people, I want to do a survey. How many hours have you played since Season 1 started? And how many Ramalani's gifts have you found? And if anything, I was just looking for like company within misery, right? I was hoping other people had just as crappy results. So I had about 100 something hours at that time, and 0 gifts. I'm happy to say that I found one yesterday, and the dream came true. The Blade of Prophecy is amazing, but I was just unlucky because other people had found tons of them. Some guy had found 5 in 30 hours, which I thought was just
Wow.
ridiculous.
Dang.
Yeah, he was the outlier, obviously, right? He's just like way up here on the Excel spreadsheet. But there are mostly, it seemed most people had found about two, and that was around like 60 hours of play. That seemed to be the average.
Nice.
How about your guys' experience with it?
I don't know my hours played, but I'm Paragon 135, and I found one.
Yeah, I have found two, though both the ones that I found were within the first couple days. Actually, I've not found one in a while since then.
I know I was playing with Mikey in chat, and he found two Romulani's gifts from one boss. One boss dropped two.
Oh, no way.
And he also dropped like two set pieces too, I think. It was crazy.
What are the odds? Holy crap.
Yeah. I'm at 50 hours now, and I found two, but I want to say both of them were probably found within the first 30.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, yes, I'm so one of my follow-ups with that was thinking, I wonder if there's a little bit of skewed bias in the data because as we have been talking previously, there's a bit of a bug with it where it doesn't have a name. So when you actually hover over it on the ground, it's just like two brackets. And also there have been issues where some players have reported it doesn't have a star on the map when it falls. So like if you're moving pretty quickly or speed farming, you leave the pack and it dies. If Romulani's gift were to drop and there's no star, you would never know. It's like, does a tree make a sound and no one's there to hear it, you know?
Does Romulani make a star?
And then some people are saying there's no beam, so it's just like all this weird things that have been happening. And I wonder if it's because it came into the development late or...
Maybe both of the ones that I found, were that there was no name, and there was no star on the map, but it did have a beam.
I can't remember if mine had a star. I'm surprised. QGC in chat here says he found 6, but the surprising thing to me is that he's Paragon 370 on seasons. I thought Leviathan played a lot. That's crazy.
Wow. I gotta stay up a little bit later, I guess. That's impressive.
Well, are there any other topics you guys want to go into before we get into the feedback?
Just one thing that I wanted to mention. This one's more of kind of like a public service announcement for any of the listeners here. If you don't know, Blizzard is currently doing a Treasure Goblin giveaway. You can win the Treasure Goblin plushie as well as one of the art prints of some of the concept art for the Treasure Goblin. I believe, let me look it up here. You can find it, of course, at the main Diablo 3 website, and you've got 16 more days, so it's going to expire on the 26th. You have until September 26th to enter, and they have 20 prize packs that they're giving away. So definitely, if it's something that interests you, go through, try it out, enter to win, and, best of luck, though not as good as luck as me.
Probably not.
Just want to throw it out there in case anyone has missed it. But go through and give it a shot, see if you win.
Yeah, if you have 9 balls luck, you'll probably get 6 of them. One for each piece of Marauder's gear, yes.
Ooh, I like that.
I like it.
All right, so 9ball had the great idea that we should do feedback before items of the week, because those who listen but don't watch kind of miss out on the items of the week, so that way we get to the feedback first. And before we get into it, I just want to say, if you want to send in any feedback or awesome items you find, the email address is westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. We don't get to all the emails, especially when we're flooded like this week, but there's a good chance your email or item will be shown on the stream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you definitely to those that do submit feedback, and we do try to think of our audio only listeners over on iTunes and Stitcher. So we're trying to change the format up a little bit to accommodate you guys. So that way, after the community feedback, we're just going to be going into items of the week, and you can kind of stop listening there if you want to, instead of having to suffer through it in order to get to the end.
I'm making a heart with my hands, but you can't hear it.
We're just going to explain all the facial expressions and mannerisms we do from now on so that the listeners can get the full experience.
I'm now scratching my left arm.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that makes me wonder where is. I haven't seen him in chat today.
Because 9ball just tried to pronounce someone's name that doesn't have any vowels in it.
Yeah, and he said,
That's
"Don't." His guide for pronouncing his name is there's no vowels and don't pronounce the consonants.
Yes.
Best name, NA.
All right. Well, I could take the first one.
All right.
I'll
Cool.
grab this one from Never Nervous. He says he's seen every episode on YouTube. Thanks so much, man. Says he's playing a Crusader on Seasons. Had to buy all of his bank tabs. It was something we asked last week. And his wizard friend started with 4 or 5 tabs unlocked. He said he had a question about on-hit wording on legendary items. Is that to be interpreted as when you hit or when you are hit or when you hit something? It's when you hit. Anything that's on hit happens when you hit, but it's not going to happen every time. It's going to go through a proc coefficient, unless, of course, it's life on hit. Which the one exception nowadays will just happen every time you cast a spell that hits something, just once per cast. Everything else will have a chance to proc every time that spell damages an enemy, and the chance is determined by the proc coefficient of that spell. Typically, spells that tick really quickly have a lower proc coefficient. Works out to be about the same on most skills. As he's using the Conduit gem, it seems though the procs when he hits things with his sword. He was curious if it procs when he gets hit. No, yeah, the mini Conduit or the Wreath of Lightning will only proc when you hit, unless there's a bug that I'm unaware of. Both gems say proc on hit. He's concerned the build probably should be running with Smite gems in his ring instead of the Conduit gem. As a Crusader, Leviathan might want to speak more on it, but if you have plus the holy damage, it should help that Smite gem.
Mighty Crusader. Yes, the Smite gem, especially if he's running the Condemn build. I think he did link to his build. I just didn't get a chance to totally view it, but I can email him back. The Smite gem is actually one of the best gems for that build, simply because it's a AOE based build. The Condemn, circle goes all around you, and it works best when you're surrounded by enemies. So it's really good to use that in conjunction with Provoke. If you haven't been doing that yet, I highly recommend it, especially because that generates a ton of Wrath. And obviously Wrath issues are always a thing for Crusaders. But the Smite gem obviously will work off of any holy percent elemental bonuses that you have on your gear. And when that gem is leveled up and when you have those bonuses, you will be critting for huge numbers, like 100 million plus per hit.
That's crazy. Yeah, he is running the Condemn build, and he does have plus the holy damage, so
perfect.
That information is applicable. He goes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nemo.
I just wanted to comment that I get to sit back and actually watch Steven's build in action, and it is disgusting. Just holy bolts of light raining down from heaven is the best way to describe it.
Nice. Yeah, he goes on a little bit more, but I think that was the gist of it. So yeah, start using the Smite gem.
Absolutely, I recommend it. 9 doctors also recommend it too. The 10th one is dead because he got smited.
He was smitten.
Smitten. All right, I'm gonna link into my next question because that built off of something you said in yours, in your answer. So that's great.
Right.
This is from Ty Bud, my buddy, who always greets us as "Sup, fellas." Love it. I have a question for you guys about this note in the patch notes that has me concerned, and he's hoping we've tested it. Life on hit is no longer affected by proc coefficients and will now only be triggered once per attack as long as the attack dealt damage, and then channeled attacks will provide an amount of healing over any given period of time that is equivalent to a non-channeled attack. So he wants to know if this means that life on hit only works per button press of attacks, and in the issue of AoE, how does that work? If he hits multiple mobs, will he get multiple life on hit? And as Archon pointed out, every time you activate a skill, that's when your life on hit goes. So obviously this means it's a big nerf to AoE. Before, if you were surrounded by a ton of mobs and you had life on hit and you did a skill that hit multiple enemies, you were going through the proc coefficient, so you're getting a certain amount of return on the life on hit. And of course, since AoE was able to hit multiple enemies, its proc coefficient was much lower. But you were still likely to get tons more life on hit than you were from a single enemy. And some of the philosophy behind it, I think it was Wyatt who was chiming in a little bit, was saying that they didn't like how life on hit felt when you were down to single target. So when you were doing like your Ubers or your boss fights, it was just lackluster. So this change made it so that it's going to be better for you in single target, not as good in AoE, but at the same time, in AoE, you're going to be killing a lot more enemies, so you're going to be getting a lot more health globes, so it kind of offsets too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to clarify, it will only give you life on hit if the spell hits an enemy.
Yes, that's true too. Yep, good to note. And he gives us a little PS. You guys should have upgraded to 3 hosts since episode 2. Great synergy.
I agree.
We're gonna have to go and check back on the IP address of that email.
I am just
I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't trust Steven anymore.
That makes sense now.
Yep. All right. So looping it around, this question comes into us from Martin. He first thing that he wants to give props to Archon for his Goodwill Hunting intro and how it's one of the funniest things that he's ever heard on the podcast. Well, he has something in store for him once he actually starts listening to today's podcast.
Well, thanks, Martin.
Yep. But he decided to go through and give Seasons a try, and he went through, and this is his chance to try out a Demon Hunter. He's always played hardcore, but he wanted to play a Demon Hunter, thanks in part to me constantly going through and talking about how it's the best class NA. And he's been having a lot of fun, but he's worried about his survivability, and he wanted just some help with how many defensive skills should he use. What would be a minimum for farming? Like Torment 1. I always say Tier 1. I see T1, and in my mind, from so many years of World of Warcraft, that's Tier, not Torment.
I do the same thing.
Yep, and just to give you an idea, for myself, I run Awareness and Perfectionist as my two passives that for defensive. Perfectionist is probably just an auto include for almost anything, as is Awareness when you're going through and playing hardcore. After those two, I guess it really will depend. When we've gone through and done some tier Torment 6 farming, almost said it, and as well as when we went through and did our Greater Rift 30 achievement, I swapped out Call of the Week for Brooding, just for the massive amount of HP regen that you get from that. So it all depends on how you feel. Well, and then, from there, for starting to farm Torment 1, I would suggest, somewhere around like 4 to 5 million toughness. If for damage wise, it kind of depends on your build. If you haven't gotten anything good and you're just using still like Elemental Arrow, you might want around like 600,000. But obviously, if you've gotten a decent amount of Marauders and you have all of your pets going, or if you've gotten say Cindercoat and you can use Cluster Arrow build, you can go lower than that. So it's all subjective. Just play on Masters and see how it feels. Always just ramp it up and see if you're safe. There's no real hard cut number before you can jump into the next difficulty. It all depends on the build that you're using and the items that you've been giving.
I just want to say too, a fun aside to Brooding is that it gives anyone who's playing with you a little mini heart attack, because it looks like you've just disconnected because they're not moving at all. Especially because your build is like sentries, right? So like they're still doing damage, but you're not attacking, and then you're just sitting there brooding, and I'm just like, did he disconnect? I'm like running circles around, like, oh god, please don't die, please don't die.
And then you just start moving. It's like, okay.
Oh, he's there.
I got this email from JB Kane, and he had 2 questions for us. First one was, basically, is the cow rift a real thing? Is there really a rift filled with cows? And no, the cow level is a lie. Doesn't exist.
Nope.
No cow level. Yeah. You can occasionally get a rift filled with cows with halberds, and the boss will be the Lord of Bells, and you can get that achievement. It's pretty funny. It's a throwback to previous Diablos. And his second question was, he says he's doing the Zuni with Carnival pet build on his Witch Doctor and wondering which legendary gems are good with the pet build. And none of us have actually played a Witch Doctor pet build since 2.1, but we did want to answer your question, and so we did a little bit of brainstorming before the show. And what Nineball educated me on a little bit, I guess, is that the legendary gems that have a proc on hit aren't affected by pet attacks, which I wish they would just put a lower proc coefficient on it or figure some workaround, because it seems like it's It seems like the is it Effervescence, the poison legendary gem? Seems like it'd be so good. Oh yeah, sorry, I don't know words. But yeah, it seems like it'd be so good for
Dog
Witch
trials.
Doctor. But I guess for a pet build, you don't really want legendary gems that proc on hit unless they make a change there. But of course, the Enforcer is that the right one? The pet
Yep.
damage, yes.
Yep. Enforcer.
Enforcer is going to be obvious go-to, and then on top of that, yeah, we were talking a little bit. What gems were we coming up with? I can't remember that might be specifically good for pet builds.
I mean, Bane of the Powerful is just a go-to, a standard go-to, just because if you're shredding elites enough. So, I'm sorry, I should explain too. So, it's the one where after you kill an elite pack, you gain a 20% bonus damage for the scaling duration of, the level of the gem. I think it starts out at 20 seconds, 30
30
seconds.
seconds.
Yep,
Yeah.
30 seconds. And then as you level it up, that number scales. And then the level 25 unlock is 15% bonus damage to elites. So it's awesome because there's a synergy there of killing the elites faster, then getting the buff up, then moving on and doing extra damage to the whites to get to the next elite. So it's just a beautiful style of play, which I think if you're speeding along and just trying to farm up items and legendaries, it makes sense to have in your build.
Yes, even more so for lower difficulties. But yeah, that's my go-to gem if I don't have one that seems like it synergizes well with my build.
Yeah, and I just want to go out there and say that I'm always a big fan of Bane of the Trapped. Witch Doctors don't have as many skills that they can do that will, slow, large packs of enemies, so that way they can get the damage increase. But it's just a nice force multiplier and something that you have a little bit more control over for actually getting that bonus damage out there. So you have Grasp of the Dead, or you have Poison Dart numbing arrows. So that way you can actually go through and get the proc bonus. Which for Bane of the Trapped, what it does is if the enemy is crowd controlled, you do X% increased damage to it. It starts at 15 and scales up 0.3% per level that you go up from there. And then the level 25 is you have a 15-yard bubble around you that slows everything by 30%. So anything that gets within 15 yards of you will be affected by the gem, because slows count.
Very nice. Hopefully that helps. I would just say experiment though. It's gonna depend on more than just your pets. The other skills are also going to affect what gem might be best for you.
Definitely. All right. I can take the next one.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Keep our order going, I suppose. This one's short and sweet. Casper would like our 3 cents input on this idea. So he says that he believes that there's a leaderboard oversight. And what he is noting is that he made a Danish community in the hopes that they could all compete with each other in seasons and leaderboards when they finally came out. But then there were no community leaderboards. What gives? I think that kind of is an oversight, because you have leaderboards that track you against your clan, you have leaderboards that track you against your friends list, and you have leaderboards that track you globally, or within your realm. So it kind of seems like it would make sense. I mean, I guess the one problem is that you're in how many communities, right? 5 max. So it might be tough. I mean, I don't know. You could do a drop-down menu, right? Your community tab, drop down for which community you want to compare against. Doesn't seem too tough, but I don't know. Maybe the technology is just not there yet.
Yeah, I think that if anything, that would probably just be a database consideration, because that's going to be a lot of data parsing and a lot of data handling that you're going to be then loading on to whatever part of the server is actually handled by that. I'm sure it's not that they can't do it, but it's like, is the cost versus reward? Is there enough of a want for it to warrant the time it takes to go through and program that, and then the amount of overhead that it's going to put to the servers to have to go through and pull all of that data constantly.
Yeah, but Casper, you're definitely not alone. Lots of people have been complaining about that, and I think a lot of us would love to see community leaderboards.
Yeah, because like within a clan, you're limited to 150 people, but communities you can have thousands. Yeah. So then suddenly that's a lot of data that you're going to have to be handling on the back end.
Indeed.
That's fair.
Yeah. Going on from there, this one came in from Inferno with Dashes. And he based on some of my recommendations went through and started reading the Diablo novels. Yay, lore, story, it's important. You'll like it. Trust me, believe me. And so he went through and he bought several of them, and he's currently reading the final book of the Sinwar trilogy, The Veiled Prophet. And he wanted to know if there's any characters from the Diablo novels that you can see as NPCs, or other things that are referred to in the lore books. And there's actually one really big one that was added in Reaper of Souls. If you've only read the Sinwar trilogy, you haven't gotten to him yet, but there's probably one of the more popular characters within all of the stories is Zale. You'll get to him in the Kingdom of Shadow, and then in Moon of the Spider, and then he's also in the most recent book, Storm of Light. And he's been kind of a fan favorite of people that have gone through and read the books. And he actually has a chance at spawning in the Paths of the Drowned in Act 5. You can go through and talk with him and his companion Humbard, and go through and have a little bit of a fun time. Get to see him in game and chat and hang out. So that's pretty cool. I would like to see some of his suggestions. He's going through and asking if you do ever see Rathma or Odyssean. Odyssean, I don't think that we'll ever actually get to see or meet because you haven't finished the book yet. But Rathma would actually be really cool if he actually would come through and make an appearance at some point. I would love to see more characters from the novels show up within the books themselves. So because we actually had some. There's a lot of hope when the Book of Tyrael came out because they mentioned a lot of random characters from some of the novels. They mentioned this character who's kind of like a supporting character in this one novel, but not the main character. Why is that? Why are some people getting love and others aren't? Well, maybe they'll get featured in the game one way or another. So it's there's always more content coming out. We can hold out hope.
Nice. Well, my next feedback kind of ties into the items of the week. So do you guys want to take any more feedback you have, and I'll go last?
Sure.
All right. I'll jump into one quick one here because it actually does tie into items of the week. It's from Ryan, who goes by the battle tag of Ohm. And he submitted a ton of items because he went on an insane RNG spree. I guess he built a similar altar to RNGs as that 9-ball. He went on the 9-ball craft method here and just got a ton of stuff. So we'll be seeing some of his items, I'm sure. One of his questions...
9craft.
You did it, didn't you? One of his questions here was, he doesn't have a clan and he wants to know if either of the clans are full or if they have room. The Blizz Pro clan is open, and 9ball and I are on there adding people as they request invites. So definitely please feel free to I think if you just search Blizz Pro, BLIZZPRO, you should find it. And there's hardcore and normal players there too. So whatever your flavor, we got you. So he has his whole items, which we'll get into later, and then he had an idea for elemental damage because obviously some of the things we've talked about here on the show is that picking an element kind of seems to pigeonhole you into now having to build around that element, and then your items are going to be what they are based on the element that you have to build for. So his idea would be to essentially add some Synergem, which he says GEM at the end, by having the helm and the weapon have gems that interact with each other. And I'm not sure I'm completely understanding the idea, but he basically says the helm gem would allow for your percent elemental damage to apply to 2 elemental types and provide another bonus for percent elemental damage. The weapon gem would pair and denote the 2 types of elements, one for each possible pairing, and a secondary unlock of bonuses specific to the paired elements. And so there could be CC or debuffs or whatever for those secondaries, adding flavor and damage to the build. What he is basically trying to get there is, not saying now you're limited to just lightning, right? These gems would interact, and you could then use your fire rune on your, I can't even think of a good example off the cuff, on your cleave, and your lightning rune on, I don't know, a spender earthquake or something. And so that way, we were talking about maybe having gems that aligned your elemental type of your runes to a different element, but this would actually allow you to still keep the runes as they are and just enable more choices.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good idea, but that would take a lot of work, and that'd be slightly complicated of having to go through and be like, well, which gem did I need for my weapon in order to pair up poison and cold, and then which gem was it that I needed in my helm in order to make those two work together. It's like you've got a lot of stuff that you have to juggle, and there's just almost I'd feel like there'd be too many options in order to go and set up properly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I agree, but I do like the idea of any kind of system that would incentivize, using multiple different types, just two
Hmm.
different elements. I do like that idea. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I still am under I still am under the impression that probably would make things better if they just remove the elemental damage bonus completely, so that way you're not tied to a specific build or rune set or skill set because well, you can just get more of this elemental damage type with this gear loadout, or because you've only found items with this elemental damage type on it, so you kind of almost feel forced into going, well, I've got 3 pieces of lightning damage, I guess I need to roll a lightning wizard, type thing.
Mm.
Hmm.
I was going to say that I felt like we're almost getting there with the legendary gems being introduced, just because you have to make a choice. Do I keep holy damage on my SOJ, or do I roll it off for a socket and keep the other affixes? But when you make gems that also interact with elements, so like the smite gem, like we were talking about earlier, being buffed off of holy elemental percent,
Hmm.
then you obviously get into an issue where you still want to have that plus your gem on your gear. So it doesn't, alleviate the problem, but it doesn't say that they can't create gems that might make you make those tough choices in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the idea of being able to make like a fire wizard or a lightning wizard or a cold wizard, but do wish that it
Well,
was easier to
yeah.
pick which
Well,
one you wanted.
yeah, because the thing is, if you remove that damage affix from gear, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from still going through and being, a frost wizard. You can be a frost wizard by your skill selection, and that's what kind of should be, driving it. Is you're wanting to play this type of build and having the skills and the passives to support it. Then, it's like, well, like previously, poison elemental damage rolled on you could only get that on pants besides your, the normal other places like SOJ and your amulets. So it's like it wasn't that powerful, and there wasn't any other items that procced off of poison damage. There wasn't anything really to support it, so you didn't see that many poison damage builds. Whereas of course you had Mage Fists and Cindercoat, so everyone had a fire build. It's some of those
Mm.
things that if you reduced that and not made items that pander specifically to a single element, you kind of give people more freedom. Because they have more choices instead of having, well, this is by and far the best choice. You're crazy for not using it. And trying to make something that builds around it just because you can get an extra 40% damage out of this one element, and it will compensate for it using inferior skill selections, because of the damage increases. If you just kind of got rid of that, it would be more about the skills that you picked instead of the items that you found.
Yeah, I know we're kind of beating a dead horse here, but
Hmm.
just to add a little bit, I like what you're saying, and I think we do need to expand players' choices because right now you do get locked into certain skills and certain builds based on your gear. But my worry is that if you allow people to just freely change, like, oh, today I'm a lightning wizard, and like, oh, I feel like being a fire wizard now, doop 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 doop, fire wizard. You lose that commitment to your character, something that you had in D2 with the skill tree. Like, oh, I made a smite paladin or whatever, and another paladin that's spec'd a different way can't just be like, oh, I like your build, do do do, now I have your build. You have something to show for that commitment you made, and I think we have some of that now with elemental damage on gear. It's like, I've committed, I've re-rolled my stats, I've kept the best gear of this damage type, and now if that fire wizard wants to be a cold wizard, he's not going to be as good as me because I committed to that. So I think as long as they gave us more options, but still had a commitment there that was not necessarily permanent, but was still somewhat punishing if you went away from it, then we could still have all the options, but feel pretty badass for making an awesome, cold wizard or holy crusader, whatever it would be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely pluses and minuses to any idea.
Yeah.
That's just. But also, going on about elemental damage, we got a question about elemental arrow. And this one comes in from Chewy Pandy. He's a big fan of the show. He's a big lore fan also. Awesome, though it's not a lore question. But he's been playing mostly hardcore ever since about a year ago, and he has been really satisfied with the increased legendary drop chance. And that his seasonal hardcore demon hunter now has 3 pieces of marauders, and he's slowly working up towards his 6-piece set bonus. And he just wanted to know, he had a question about how Kreider Shot works with the Marauder 6-piece. Since it changes it into a generator instead of a spender, does it still work? And the answer is yes. Kreider Shot does still allow your sentries will still shoot elemental arrow, and it also allows you to have a little bit more of an active role in it because you can now attack. You don't have to go through and sit there, well, I shot my 3 arrows, and now I have to sit there and wait for my hatred to build back up before I can do anything. Some people are kind of, just as we were mentioning about elemental skills, some people do kind of are going a little bit more towards cold damage, because you can get an Itaru bow that has cold damage built into it, or cold damage percentage. In addition to physical is still considered like one of the best ones because it scales with your other pets. But it's just something that you can go through and mess around with. So yeah, if you're lucky enough to get a Kreider in Marauder 6, have fun. Make things explode.
Nice. Well, let's see. Did you guys have any more feedback before I grab this last one?
No, all you.
Good to go.
All right. Well, we got this sent in from Juno Reactor in the chat. And he said he had 2 questions for us. He says, I know you guys are really enjoying the first season of Diablo right now, but my questions for you are you going to continue to play your seasonal character after the first season ends, or is each successive seasonal character you create going to be your main character? And for me, I think the second one. I think I'll continue to create new mains. What about you guys?
Yeah, definitely. It is that goes to option B. That's like the whole fun of playing on the season, is that starting over. And so that's going to be one of those things that you look forward to when a new season starts, is to go and start over. Although you'll get to the point where it'd be like, you look at your non-seasonal characters and you'd be like, wow, this character is like a god, because of all the gear that you've accumulated, that you in season 1, I got Marauders 6-piece, and then season 2 you have this new set that's added in. You get this, and you mix them all together, and then you kind of realize, well, I could put all this together, and I have all these pieces which are perfect that now mesh together, and form something just divine, and you can go through and mess around with it a little bit. But for me, it's pretty much mostly just seasons.
You see, for me, actually, I'm doing this amazing idea, which I think it's an amazing idea. So obviously in hardcore, they have the Hall of the Fallen Heroes. When your hero dies, you can archive it and go back and look and see that you died from like a white mob ghost or something. What I'm going to do is take my actual list of characters, and when a season is done, I'm not going to change that character. So it's going to be a Hall of Living Heroes, if you will. And so I'll be able to go back and say, like, that was the end of my season 1. Like, what had I gotten to? Wow, I had that shield, that weapon. Oh, man, that was pretty cool. And then go to my season 2 character and be like, wow, look at that. We got that bow, that quiver, whatever. And just, as the seasons go on, have this list until I get to season 13. I guess I have to delete one, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, and then there's going to be that one crowning achievement, like season 6, where you die the day before the season ends, so the character you save at the end is like level 47. This is what I achieved at the end of this season. Yay!
Nice. That's awesome. I didn't think about that. Back to the drawing board.
That's what I'm here for.
Dennis goes on to say that he has been playing seasons, but he kind of sees his seasonal characters in alt. He has over 400 Paragon levels on his main, and still sees that as his non-season characters his main. And then he linked his Hellfire Amulet, which I can pull up here. Hellfire Ammy, which rolled all right. That's on his main, though, and just doesn't feel like he can give it up. But of course, his name is Juno Reactor, so he also sent in this picture here because Nine Ball's a big Juno Reactor fan.
Yep. It was amazing. Not only is it a nice Juno Reactor shirt and DVD, yeah, it's a Treasure Goblin wearing it. All the more betterist. And
Juno Reactor spent part of his day laying out these objects just to take a picture. It's a great visual for me.
Yep. Yeah. And the other like awesome thing that I am incredibly jealous of is like in a week they're coming into his hometown and playing live, and it's just like they rarely come to America, and I don't think they've ever actually been in Florida. So it's like, oh, I've just got to luck out. But nice. Congratulations, you lucky bastard.
And I think that brings us into our item of the week section. We got so much feedback this week. We didn't get to put all of it in here, so we apologize for anyone who sent stuff in. Please keep sending it.
I don't. What we gotta. I don't know if we want to do this before or after we get into the items. If you set up the screens for it or not, but
I did.
We had kind of a small competition that we had going on.
Yes, I have those as the last 3 pictures right now.
Okay, I will hold off then. But there you go. You have something to look forward to.
Yeah, don't want to give anything away.
I don't even know what we're talking about.
you'll remember
someone was not paying attention in the pre-show.
Well, okay, so LaFarn, I hope I'm saying that right, sent in this very sexy SOJ with that Leviathan can drool over a little bit, with 20% damage to holy skills, 50% crit hit damage, 30% damage to elites, and those are the stats that rolled naturally. He didn't reroll any of those. He looks like he probably rerolled the socket on there.
Because it doesn't have a main stat, so yeah, he definitely rerolled the socket.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my god, that's perfect for my build, please.
And he put the Pain Enhancer in there, rank 25, the gem that makes critical hits cause the enemy to bleed. It's super sexy. Grats, LaFarn.
Jelly.
Totally. I've not found an SOJ yet. I'm really jelly.
Yeah, me neither. The next one is from Erip Mav, who sent in a Warmonger with almost 4,100 damage. So that's, I mean, it does have 10% damage and attack speed. It's getting it up there, but still pretty sexy to see 2K or 4K two-handers, although they're, I guess, probably more common than I think nowadays.
Yeah, if I don't know if he rolled the socket on it. Let's see. Hey guys. Yeah, okay, so he did roll for the socket, but he can still find a Romulades. But yeah, to actually address the question that I sent along with it is, you would, if you ever find a Romulades, you would want to roll that socket into strength and then add the socket to it in order to get the most out of it.
Indeed. Alright, the next one is a Hellfire Ami to compete with Dennis's, and I think Aqualips here has taken the cake. This is by far the best Hellfire Ami that we have seen on the show. It has int, vit, and then almost perfect crit hit damage at, I think is that 99? The resolution's kind of low.
Yeah, 99. Red balloons.
99. Yeah, that's neat. And then 10 crit chance, and he got Grave Injustice, which is not a bad passive at all to have on a Hellfire.
Yeah, which is an amazing passive until you start getting into the higher greater rifts. It is beautiful.
So honestly, how do you feel at the moment when you roll 99%? Because you're so close to perfect, right? But that's more materials that are going to take into there, and God knows how many rolls till you get the 100.
I'm never rolling it again if it hits 99.
I would be fine with 95. that was within my realm of tolerance, which it's like one of those ones I kind of given up on this one pair of Marauders gloves that I'm using, especially because I'm going for Tasker and Theo, but it rolled 27% critical hit damage, and then I constantly was trying to re-roll it to get it higher, and it just would not roll higher, and the one time that crit damage got back up on it was 25.
Oh God!
But like, really? Come on now.
Yeah, I've probably re-rolled the crit damage on my Blackthorns about 30 times. It's 71% right now, and I just haven't gotten anything better.
Mikey says 100 or salvage.
Yeah, good call.
With that
Actually,
mentality, he's probably has a lot of items that he's salvaged to have mats to do it.
and speaking of Mikey, he actually sent us in a picture this week. We had asked for people to send us in pictures with a combination of Boon of the Hoarder, which drops a ton of gold, and Gold Wrap, which gives you armor equivalent to gold picked up. And Mikey was able to get close to 1,000,000,000 toughness with that combo. And you can see the screenshot. He's at like 966 million. So that's pretty close to the best we've seen on the show, I think.
Pretty close,
That's
but
high up
not
there.
yet.
Yeah. But, sorry, Mikey, Victor has you beat. He actually over doubled that toughness. Victor was able to, I think using the same combination, get up to 2.3 billion toughness.
Dear God.
Yep.
Really-
2.3 billion toughness. That's impressive.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we ever saw someone beat that. Oh,
Well-
wait!
Oh wait.
That's right.
There's more.
Are you ready for this?
Twit sent in this picture right here.
Just before we even pull it up,
I'm
or if
sorry,
it's already
it's
on
too
the screen,
late.
it's too late. But before you actually see
God.
it on the screen,
It's happening.
what do you think it is? How high do you think you can go?
I'm sorry, I spoiled it already, but
Ridiculous.
yeah, this is pretty ridiculous. Twit got 67 billion toughness.
Mm-hmm.
Just sounds like a joke. That's like the Austin Powers like 67 billion toughness.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's, oh man, yeah, nothing can
It-
hurt you there
Yeah,
for
and
those few seconds.
I was just
Yeah,
gonna
but
say,
the-
if you look at his spec, you see he's got the gold, all the gold fine pieces, the gold fine gem in the helm with Leorix buffing it, and you can go
Yep.
ahead 9-ball finish it up.
And of course, the reason and how he was able to go through and get this ridiculous number is this is from the chest at the end of the vault.
I guess I didn't read the email well enough.
Yep, it was a Torment 3, went through, he got the chest, equipped all of the gear, and then picked all of the gold up in one go, and that's how he got that level of toughness. So this number can be beaten because you can do the same setup, but then set it to Torment 6 and see how high can you go. You know,
Yeah.
could we get a trillion?
Yeah, that's a good
I don't even
question.
know if that's possible.
Could you
Because,
get a trillion?
because the amount of armor that you're going to have with that amount of toughness, I want to see what his armor percentage was, because the person that was at the 2 billion toughness was at 99.91% damage reduction via armor. In order to
Wow.
get 67 billion toughness, are they at 99.9? Can you get higher than that?
Yeah, and if you look, he only has 4,500 vit. So, if you could get a baseline toughness that was 10 times as high before getting all that armor,
Mm-hmm.
it would just multiply. You could get 10 times as much toughness after getting the armor.
Yeah, or hell, the same thing that they did is because after all of the gold itself is dropped, he could have replaced the emerald in his helm with a amethyst, and then
Oh,
Well, could you do that? I guess you have to have like another helm on
Yeah.
reserve that you swap in.
Yeah,
All right,
that's a
well, the challenge has been issued. Who can beat 67 billion?
it's just
Yeah.
so silly.
Congrats to Twit. It's pretty crazy.
pick.
Well, I think that's the end of our feedback section. Was there?
There was one actually that you missed. I don't know if you
Ooh.
can actually bring it up. There's a Minerva. She submitted a Marauder's chess piece.
Oh yeah, we
Let me-
gotta talk
Yeah,
about.
let me grab that.
Yeah,
she's in the chat too.
yeah, and this because we were playing with her when this dropped, and it was just like one of those ones. Is like you have to submit this. You have to put it in the podcast.
Okay.
Because it is. This is just ridiculously sexy, and it went through and it rolled Dex, all resist, had 3 sockets, and she re-rolled Vitality onto it. I don't remember what it was that she replaced the Vitality with, but then what it really comes down to is not only did it have high stats rolled in all of those categories, and for a hardcore player, you have main stat vit, all resist, and 3 sockets. That's amazing. That's done. It's beautiful. But then the secondary stats
Yeah, that's really
that
sexy.
rolled on that for a hardcore character, friggin' both of the secondaries rolled the reduced ranged in melee damage. That is
At
that
max
is just,
percent.
yeah, that is just godly. It's kind of like at the point that some people are already going through and mentioning is like, I literally think that she could probably just replace the vitality with sentry damage and she'd be fine. You know, it is just it is so beautiful that I have dreamt about this Marauders set piece, you know, since I saw her link that when she had it.
And just to put it into perspective, those two secondaries combined are the 2-piece bonus for Ogchilds.
Yeah.
Just think
Just
about
said
that.
it right there. Yeah. That she just, you know, she just had an item roll with the Ogchild's 2-piece set bonus.
It's just silly.
It's pretty awesome.
What can you say? There's, you know, every once in a while you just get those items that you see linked here on the show that just make you insanely jealous, and that is one of them.
There you go. There's the reason to keep farming after you think you got everything you need.
Yep.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we wrap it up?
That's about it. I think there is one other thing that we kind of skipped over in the feedback. Blue Phoenix, he was mentioning last week we were talking about you won't find goblins in Greater Rifts, so they don't spawn, and he just wanted to say that if you have a legacy puzzle ring, that you can get them to spawn in Rifts. And it's interesting because as they run around, they do drop their little gold. And when you kill them, they drop the purple orbs that, you know, press your rift progress through, but they don't actually drop any other items. Yeah, just like one of those little things that you can get them if you try to work it, try to break the system, you can get them to spawn in a greater rift.
Yeah, it's interesting they dropped the purple orbs. All right, well, I think that brings our almost 2-hour episode to a close. I think we were due for a long episode. I'll go ahead and start the outro music. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. I hope you guys are enjoying Seasons. Keep in mind, if you want to watch the podcast live, we do it every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/ArchonTheWizard. You can also tweet us. If you're watching the video, you can see our Twitter handles on screen at ArchonTheWizard, at SAStewart111, and at 9ballgamer. And find us on Stitcher and iTunes and YouTube and in the basement probably. We're all over the place. Until next week, may all your Marauders chess pieces roll 7% reduced ranged and melee damage.
The dream.
Alright, Archon out.
Bye, everybody.
Leviathan out.